Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Inside Africa. We make our first stop in Cameroon, where the governor of the Central Region, Rene Yenelom, has said they are doing all in their power to maintain a peace and a serenity within the region during and after upcoming legislative and municipal elections slated for September 30th. He was speaking at a meeting in Yaoundé on Tuesday, August 13. Mari Gareti Wifengla has the rest of that story.
During the meeting, the regional heads from the 10 regions of Cameroon deliberated on possible measures necessary to ensure the smooth operation of the legislative and municipal elections come September 30th. They were expected to carry on these recommendations back to their various regions. This was the case with Cameroon's regional governor for the Central Region, Rene Moïse Eyene, who organized a one-day workshop with the divisional heads from the 10 divisions that make up the Central Region. During the meeting, Governor Rene Moïse Eyene said there is no call for alarm.
How to manage election in order, in peace.
On his part, the divisional officer for the Lekere division, Simo Kamsu Patrick, said although they have some drawbacks, it is expected that all will be well.
After the list of candidates was published by Lekam, we had some people who expressed their disappointment. But for the moment, the situation is coming gradually to a normal situation. And we think that despite all the difficulties that we are having with some thieves that are stealing electrical materials here and there, and the situation is being mastered, we are going to organize or to leave a very serene organization of elections by ELECAM, to which we as administrative authorities are giving all the support, all the assistance for them to succeed.
The first part of the meeting ended with a family picture, with all participants waiting forward to bring forth their contribution to make sure that elections take place in calm, order and serenity.
Over in Ghana, a two-day workshop to review the draft ICT in education policy has begun in Accra. The workshop will, among other things, discuss innovative practices on open and distance learning, including mobile and smart learning technologies.
The Ministry of Education in 2008 established a National Teaching Council to improve teaching and learning, especially at the pre-tertiary level, which was inaugurated February last year. This was in response to the increased perception that public schools were not performing well. However, same cannot be said for ICT in education, since the last review of the 2003 draft policy was 5 years ago. Though the study of ICT forms the basis of most modern education curricula, the Ghanaian educational system leaves much to be desired, hence the need for a comprehensive policy that can be acceptable and practicable. The workshop will focus on updating the existing draft policy and forward it for approval by Parliament. The Deputy Minister for Education in charge of tertiary education, Mr. Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, explained some measures that have so far been instituted by government on ICT in education.
The Better Ghana Computerization Program, which we started since 2009, we hope to improve the content by making sure that there are good software. Textbooks should now have soft versions which will be loaded onto the computers so that it will help in teaching and learning. We are also networking the various computer labs across the country. And then we are also hoping that we will create a portal which will contain a lot of these textbooks and learning resources, educational materials, which students, regardless of which part of the country they are, can access.
The policy is being drafted around three major pillars, which are ICT as a learning and operating tool, ICT as integrated into the teaching and learning, and ICT as a career option for students.
Away from Ghana, let's now take you to Nigeria, where dealers and sellers of computers and computer accessories at a popular computer village in Lagos have been warned to stop the sale of fake and substandard products to consumers. Director General of the Standard Organization of Nigeria, Dr. Joseph Odumodu, gave the warning during a sensitization exercise to some major markets in Lagos.
The Director General's visit to the computer village is coming on the heels of complaints received from consumers on products purchased at the market, which in several cases have been found to be substandard. The SON Director General, who told newsmen that the agency has all it takes to deal with dealers of such products and will stop at nothing to ensure that Nigerians get value for their money. At a meeting with the Markets Union, Dr. Dumodu told the traders that any imported product that is not registered with the SON will be removed from the shelves.
Working together, we have to find a way so that when people come to Nigeria and disobey our laws, we will find a way of also making sure that they are fully punished beyond even what a Nigerian would have been punished to.
President of the Market Union told the Director General that members of the association have been having a running battle with some fraudulent Chinese businessmen who engage in the sale of fake and substandard products in the market. Instead of the over 5,000 dealers in the market, only 1,500 are registered with the association.
If you look around, you see that the crowd here is not the way it used to be. A lot of shops are closing down because of the influx of Indians and Chinese. And even some Chinese companies that have offices here that are duly registered, they treat our Nigerian staff as nothing. Employed today, sacked tomorrow, and bringing Bangladeshi Indians to work in Nigeria.
Dr. Dumodu assured the Market Union of government's commitment to rid the market of fraudulent dealers.
Now, the Office of the High Commissioner of Human Rights has called on the United Nations Security Council to consider the deployment of a large international force to protect civilians in the Central African Republic. If allowed to continue, the total absence of the rule of law could see the Central African Republic falling into the category of a failed state.
Bishop fiddles to finalize a transitional structure. Rome is burning.
Lootings of people's properties, plundering, kidnapping, torturing, killing still continue. As there is no proper chain of command, the country runs the risk of descending into anarchy and chaos. Some police officers are reporting to work, but are not equipped to work safely and effectively. Furthermore, they do not trust and they fear their Seleka counterparts.
Officials say fear is pervasive everywhere in the country, while the humanitarian situation affecting the entire population of 4.6 million has become a complex emergency.
The deployment of a large international force with a strong protection mandate is therefore necessary to immediately provide security, protect the population throughout the country, restore the rule of law and create favourable conditions for free and fair elections within 18 to 24 months as envisaged under Libreville agreements.
Council urged to act to bolster a 3,500-strong AU force, one that officials call a good start, but insufficient to protect civilians throughout the country.
Talking something else now, children who are forced to serve as soldiers in conflict zones are often severely traumatized by their experiences and face a long road to recovery should they manage to escape. But a charity in the northern Ugandan district of Gulu is helping former child soldiers so they can successfully reintegrate with their families and communities.
At a rehabilitation centre in northern Uganda, these former child soldiers are trying to get their lives back on track. Aldo was just 12 when he was abducted and forced to fight for the Lord's Resistance Army. As part of a gruesome initiation, he was made to shoot dead some of his fellow captives.
All the abductees had to jump over dead bodies to change us mentally. They did it purposefully. They even brought bodies from far away for us to jump over, to toughen us up.
After 13 years fighting for the rebel group, Aldo eventually returned home. But reverting to normal life was far from easy for him. When he joined the 16-week therapy program, run by the charity World Vision, like many former abductees, he was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. The program aims to help victims like Aldo by encouraging them to share their experiences. And it focuses on talking and art therapy, making it accessible to those who didn't have the chance to learn to read and write at school. Since the centre opened in 1995, the charity says it's rehabilitated more than 15,000 children with the help of trained community volunteers.
It is going to help people to create peace and unity among themselves in such a way that that illness which was there, it will not be there. They will see each others like normal people.
There are fears that a lack of funding may lead to the closure of the centre in Gulu. But in the meantime, the programme will continue to help Aldo and other former child soldiers in Uganda.
Moving on, it's almost 2 years since the Somali fighters known as Al-Shabaab were forced out of the capital Mogadishu. But despite its absence from the city, the group remains a cause for concern for African Union and Somali forces.
Exactly 2 years ago, the Somali armed group Al-Shabaab was forced out of the capital Mogadishu, largely because of the efforts by the African Union and Somali forces. It took the joint forces 5 years to regain full control over Mogadishu. AMISOM argues that the capital security has improved since then.
If you compare Mogadishu before the deployment of AMISOM, you will see the kind of insecurity that this town has. And therefore, once AMISOM was deployed and we expelled Al-Shabaab from Mogadishu, you can tell the kind of peace and tranquility that exists in Mogadishu.
Since the pullout, the city has recorded tremendous progress. Key roads have been opened as reconstruction is taking place throughout the once bullet-riddled and war-ravaged capital. The business community is particularly enjoying the improved security as shops open until late at night.
Every year we keep witnessing bigger changes and people are hopeful. People in the diaspora have come back and our customers have increased, and we welcome them very much.
The militant group recently claimed responsibility for an attack on a Turkish diplomatic post that left 6 people dead. AMISOM and UN officers have also been recent victims of Al-Shabaab's deadly attacks. The capital has experienced relative calm, but the militant group continues to launch guerrilla attacks. Security still remains the biggest challenge for President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud. Despite all progress, there is little to show. Several of key Mogadishu roads have been blocked with concrete barricades. The government says it has introduced new forces that will take charge of the capital's security. It also calls for public support in its war on Al-Shabaab.
It is a collective responsibility of everyone to maintain security. It's not something the security forces can do on their own. Locals must join hands and assist the security forces and repel Al-Shabaab members who try to create insecurity within the city.
The group is facing serious challenges after the arrest of one of its senior-most commanders. Nevertheless, it says it will continue with its war until it unseats the internationally backed federal government under President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud.
Let's now make a stop in Kenya, where the Kenyan Wildlife Service has linked tourists to the killing of a rhino at the Nairobi National Park, first one in 6 years to happen within the park. This as it calls for the speedy enactment of the wildlife bill pending in the National Assembly that proposes enhanced penalties on poachers. The bill proposes a 5-year imprisonment for poachers.
Majestic in stature with a proud demeanor if unprovoked, but the rhino faces an imminent threat in Africa as the animal is a prime target of poachers.
There's some populations that have gotten exterminated. Yeah, Cameroon, for instance, they had rhinos. In 2011, we declared rhinos there extinct.
Killing of the rhino at the Nairobi National Park has raised conservationist antenna. A single high-caliber bullet was used to floor the beast before plucking out of his horn. And KWS officers suspect a would-be tourist occasioned the killing.
As you know, Nairobi Park is one of our best, most visited national parks in the country. So we have all sorts of visitors that come in. And the recent poaching incident that we had, the investigations are still going on, but we highly suspect that the poacher who did this thing came in as a tourist, disguised himself as a tourist.
South Africa has the highest number of rhinos in Africa at slightly over 20,000 rhinos. Namibia is second with at least 2,000. Kenya has slightly above 1,000 rhinos, while Zimbabwe is fourth with close to 800 rhinos. The 4 countries computing a whopping 93% of Africa's total rhino population. but demand for rhino horn has skyrocketed over the years. Already, Kenya has surpassed the number of rhinos killed last year. Until August 2013, the country has lost 35 rhinos compared to 30 last year. South Africa is equally trading on the same ground. Asian countries are the prime markets for rhino horns, allegedly to satisfy their beliefs.
The rhino horn was being used in the Chinese traditional medicine. The chemical property of the rhino horn is basically the chemical property that you find in the human hair, or the chemical property that you find in the fingernails. Yeah? So if there was any cure or any medicinal property in that rhino horn, then it will be as good as your hair or your fingernails.
KWS believes stiffer penalties in the Wildlife Bill 2011 will be the remedy to poaching. The bill proposes fines of over 1.5 million shillings and or 5 years imprisonment for poachers. Rhinos are among the country's tourist attractions and consequently an economic booster.
Over in South Africa, an education trust to benefit the children of police officers killed in the line of duty was launched in Pretoria on Tuesday night. The trust will be funded through fundraising initiatives and donations.
The trust fund was announced in 2010. It was given a thumbs up by President Jacob Zuma in 2011 and earlier this year. It is aimed at easing the burden on widows and orphans of police officers who died in the line of duty. Last night, the first fund allocations were handed over to the beneficiaries.
I'm just grateful to be given the opportunity to be able to see my studies through.
It's going to benefit a lot of people, especially from my family, because they don't have to worry so much about the funds.
The SAPS authorities say this is the first initiative of its kind through which it will continue to honor its fallen heroes.
Their dreams would have been to ensure that you have a good education so that you are able to follow your dreams.
Tonight's education investment in their children is the beginning of a very important step, and we shall endeavor to ensure that the initiative is sustained.
The minister has made a clarion call to businesses and all South Africans to join hands in shaping the future of these young people.
Still in South Africa, the National Taxi Alliance says the government should give the taxi industry a fuel subsidy. The alliance says the taxi industry provides an important service and deserves a subsidy. Members have vowed to strike if government does not meet its demands. The call comes after the price of petrol hit new record highs this month.
Tebogo Makafole uses 2 taxis to commute between Soweto and Sandton daily, totaling 45 rands a day on transport. The recent increase will put a dent in his pocket. The economy is contracting and people have less disposable income.
Some people, they take 3 taxis, some people take taxis to work. So for a normal South African, it's really tough.
Millions of people rely on public transport, mostly taxis. Here, a mass consultation. The National Taxi Alliance says it will approach government for an exemption on petrol levies.
We have a social responsibility to make sure that our commuters are not on the receiving end. What government should do, we don't have to demand from the commuters.
Meanwhile, Santaco has announced an increase of between 1 and 5 rands on local routes and 10 and 50 rands on long-distance routes. And people like Makafole believe they're being taken for a ride.
With that item from South Africa, we come to the end of today's edition of Inside Africa. Thanks for always taking our time to be with us, and keep watching AFRIQUE Media for more news.